Happy Easter, everyone. I thought I'd come out and show you how I take care of my worms and how I'm harvesting them. I have 3 worm bins over here that have probably been collecting kitchen scraps and cardboard for a few months, and it's time to harvest. So here are the worm bins. This was pure cardboard and paper, and then just kitchen scraps for maybe 4 months, 5 months. You can see some, I think avocado is trying to grow, but oh, never mind, these are sweet potato slips. So how I harvest is I bring them out into the sun, so the worms crawl down away from the surface layer because they don't like the sun, they don't like light. I come over here and I made a 1/2-inch sifter from just some wood and chicken wire. I'll sift the 1/2 inch in here and then determine whether or not that's fine enough for my garden. If it isn't, then I'll go down to a 1/4-inch sifter. And I'm going to use 2 totes. One's going to collect the waste, which I can either throw into the garden, throw into my compost bin, or reuse as more worm bedding. And the other one will be the actual worm castings. And then I'm going to store them over here in my shed. And my plans to use the vermicompost is going to be for that herb garden over there. That guy. I'll probably also use it for my raised beds. They need amending this year. So I thought I'd show you, here's a scoop of the worms. I'm going to get these guys back into the bedding. I don't want them out in here while I'm sifting. But that's why you got to kind of try and let them get off the surface. So a little bit of a change of plans. The drainage in this bin wasn't very good, so it's still pretty moist. I'm going to go ahead and transfer them over to their new bedding material as I'm sifting, because you can see it's almost kind of like mud, so it's not really going through the filter very well. And there's just too many of these worms in here for me to want to shove it through and just kind of kill all the worms on accident. So I will water down their cardboard. And these are old Amazon boxes. I shred them up in my shredder when I get them, so I can kind of reuse them. And the worms will turn this also into compost. It's perfectly fine for my garden. So I'm getting down to the last little bit. I just wanted to show you, when you get down to the bottom, there are still plenty of worms in here. And I'm not actually going to go all the way and get every last bit out. I'm going to leave these guys in here and just mix in the new bedding with them. But first I want to bundle them all in one area because these red wigglers are group feeders, which means that they do better when they're in big old worm clumps, kind of like that right there. So I will keep them together, and then when I mix in the new bedding, I'm going to mix it in everywhere else, and then start feeding in the new bedding, and hopefully, as a group, these guys will all slowly move on over. And I'll just show you my last filter. So you just kind of pick it up. And then after I'm done filtering, I like to try and save what worms I can. Toss them in the new bedding. Like so. They can be hard to get to. And then I will move this over and just go in and fish the easy guys out and toss them over. Sometimes there'll be centipedes, so I don't always like to use my hands, so I'll just fish them out with the trowel like that. There you go. Just about done. I'm going to do a test batch through the 1/4-inch filter to see if it's worth doing, but again, I don't think so. So here's the 1/4-inch French filter. I just want to show, this is what it'll actually look like if you buy it from someone else. They'll typically filter it down to this level. Kind of hard to do with one hand. And it will look, you can see, it's basically very fine at this point. These are actually worm eggs right here, these little orbs. But we'll leave these in here. It's fine to have them in the garden. But this stuff's very, very nice. This is what you'll get from a store if you buy vermicompost. But again, I'm not going to go to this level. So I thought I'd come over and show you what was the wrong with this bin. You can see that there are air holes on the side. However, on the bottom, there's no drainage holes. That's a big no-no. And it turned the compost anaerobic without air. Basically just sewage and mud. It doesn't smell very good, and it's not exactly what we're going for. I'm just going to dump it out here and let it air out, and probably start a new compost pile using it as the nitrogen source. Just got to go dump some dead leaves and twigs and stuff like that on it. Some carbon. Here's my other compost pile. I just turned it today. This one's probably 2 months old. You can see that this black soil is pure compost. It looks really good. I'm happy about it. It's really warm to the touch too, so it's alive and it's baking. I imagine if I keep turning this weekly, this will be done in, I don't know, less than a month. In time to amend some beds. I'm also considering making another bed over here next to that raised bed. But I'm going to fix this issue and just drill some 1/4-inch holes in the bottom. Here is post hole drilling. You can see that on the bottom I'm drilling into the raised sections. That's because when you flip it, those are going to be the lowest points, and the water will go down to those points and drain out. And that's what we're going for, is for the material to be damp but not waterlogged. It should basically just be like soil, and you need to drain your soil.